Okay, so thank you all for letting me be part of this new venture. I have nothing fancy to show you except for 2 slides where I'm going to allude to food. So the title of my little presentation is a recipe for student self-efficacy. I was motivated to revise a curriculum with a goal of promoting self-efficacy based on addressing the kinds of issues that we were seeing with student engagement last semester when we transitioned to remote learning. And so my kind of goal was to help students to practice for the inevitable transition to remote learning, which we are about to embark upon. So my recipe is pretty simple. I have structure of my course has tasks that have a lot of repetition and reinforcement. I include a lot of student choice in the activities that they partake in. And then I try to promote student ownership of processes and also the learning standards by the kinds of assignments that they have. And so, like I said, nothing fancy. Now we're just going to go to Canvas. So here's my Canvas course. Again, nothing fancy. Don't look over here of all my to-dos. Just ignore that. This is my launch page. The course is Principles of Biology. It's an online synchronous course. There are 80 students. It's primarily second year students that are bio majors because it's part of the core requirement, but we also have other majors. The course is thematically structured into these 5 units that you can see here. And each one focuses on a different environmental theme. And so I'm just going to navigate to our current unit, which is here. And so the structures of the units are all the same. They're all 3 weeks long. And you can see the 3 weeks here, 10, 11, 12. We're almost done, y'all. We're getting there. Each unit ends with a test. Let me start with what it begins with. Each unit begins with an overview. And the learning objectives for the overview are very specifically spelled out for the students. Let me go back. Every unit ends with a test. What else? All tests are constructed response. They primarily use a claim evidence reasoning structure. So there's only one kind of, or there's mainly one kind of test question that they need to be prepared for answering. So we can work on that skill of producing a scientific argument. What else? Each week has the same type of assignments too. You can kind of see that. There's like week 10 tutorials and applied assignments, week 11 tutorials and applied assignments. And then these performance reports, they happen in every week. Let's see, what else? So the performance reports. One of the weekly assignments is a performance report, and here's where ownership starts to come in. The prompts change. So you can see the prompts down there. The prompts change, but they always include students have to evaluate their own online learning practices and grade their own participation based on a rubric that they make for themselves, but from criteria I provide. So there's the structure. They also work in permanently assigned groups of 3 to 4 students for test writing tasks. So that's also some structure. So you can see throughout here, we have these test tasks here where they write the test. So the students write the test, they take it, they analyze the test answers, they make a key, they grade their own tests, and then they evaluate their own group's contribution to the class's learning through having written test questions and analyzing student test answers. In terms of choice, let's see. So here is an example. Every week, students get to choose what they do, but they always have to do these 4 things. So they always have to do some assignments. They always have to contribute. They always have to apply. But there's a bunch of different things that they can do every week. So there are the synchronous sessions. There are different talks that they could go to, or they can post in a discussion forum. They can do things like, so flip over here, we have this illustrated glossary where for every unit they can put in a illustrated concept. And what else do we do here? Let's go back. So let's see, the test. Here's another part where choice. The test is 21 questions. So we've got a test coming up tomorrow. I'm putting the finishing touches on it now. There are 21 questions, but they choose 15. There's some restrictions to ensure breadth. The other place where they get choice is the order in which they go through the topics. So they, of course, have to choose an order that matches their test writing task. So if they have to write a test question on this topic, they should do that topic first. But they basically get to choose whatever order they want. Let's just go down to this bottom one here. So the tutorials look like this. They are top hat pages, and there are questions embedded within there. They can answer and repeat the questions in the tutorial as many times as they want until they're satisfied. So there's some opportunity for choice there. There's always one applied assignment where they get to tell me what they think is important. This one that I'm showing you here is one that's a scientist spotlight. So we always have scientist spotlights where we learn about a scientist that's doing some ecology, and they have to read a bit about the person, and then the writing assignment has some prompts that, again, ask them to tell me what they think is important to them.
I wanted to talk about intentionality. I mean, it seems like you've really designed this course in an intentional way. Are you being transparent with your students about that and talking about kind of the metacognition, why you designed the course this way, and how students reacted?
Yeah, pretty much all the time. Anytime I tell them this is what we're going to do, I tell them this is why. And I've been pretty transparent about how we know we're in an extra stressful time right now. We need to support each other. I've designed this course in this particular way because this is how I think it will work for you. But if it is not working, we need to chat about that. So please do tell me. A phrase that I use a lot in the class is we want to maintain the standards of the knowledge and the skills that we're gaining from the course, but we also want to make it achievable. And so I had at the very beginning, well, students, coming to my class from multiple choice land, or they were not happy about the constructed response answers. They'd never done that sort of thing before. And so I use that phrasing that, we have standards in this class that we all want to maintain. Let's figure out how to make this more achievable. So I did a few things, like I made the test taking time a longer chunk of time. And then I did actually originally have them do all 21 questions, but now I shifted it to you can choose 15 out of the 21. So that makes it shorter as well. And then we did a lot of practice. We did a lot of practice with here's how you construct an answer. And you can do it in 3 sentences, actually. And a lot of students did a really great job of speaking up to show other students where they thought they could improve as well. So very early on, I remember a student saying, in these answers that you all are providing, we saw a lot of people put in a bunch of extra stuff. Just don't do that. Just like answer the question. Don't put in all the extra stuff. And other sort of suggestions that were like that were really helpful. So always inviting students to contribute as well, I think helped to maintain that kind of ownership over the processes. I think most students feel like we're like doing this thing together, which is kind of cool. So yes,
Thank
transparency.
You.
Sorry, go ahead, Mackenzie.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Suann. I was wondering if you would be willing to speak a little bit more to that opening week and how you prime students for a course format that they're less familiar with. So even if that starts maybe before the class, how do you get them ready for this?
Well, I can't say I necessarily did it right. It was a lot. The first 3 weeks, the entire first unit was a lot of explaining how to do things again and again and again. Now that you have the context and the little bit of experience, some of the things that I had said before maybe make sense to you now. So that's kind of just like on me to be not frustrated when students still don't get this new sort of way. But I spent a lot of time hopefully promoting the sense of belonging. So we did a lot of things like, well, first I had a whole like little orientation module where they got to try all the things. So there were all these little assignments so they could try all the different pieces. But in doing that, they did things like they answered questions about themselves, or they introduced themselves to the class, or we did a discussion forum on the lessons they learned from last semester in online learning and how they will use those lessons to make changes for this semester. So some of that intentionality that Dave was mentioning, I tried to build in as much of that as possible at that beginning of the semester. But it was about, half students getting used to it, and then half me recognizing that they need to get used to it, and maybe, in the future, pacing things slightly differently so that there is more opportunity for, or less opportunity for frustration, I guess would be the right way to put it.
And when I've incorporated choices for students, one of the things I found is that there's actually resistance to choice and ownership. And I wondered if you could speak to that a little bit.
I didn't really see too many issues there, but most of the choice that I do is with their participation, and they grade their own participation, right? So I don't have to track what they're doing, which I think helps. Maybe it feels less sort of like because there's no, I guess, official accounting, maybe there's not as much frustration over that because they can do as little or as much as they want to meet the criteria. So if, say, if I told everyone, you must do 5 things and you have to figure out which 5 you want to do, that might be, I might have had more resistance, but I'm telling them they can choose whichever things they want to do, as many as they want from this list that we have.
But you don't, with major assignments, then you don't have as much choice as that.
So in the test,
You can just
there is
eliminate.
choice, but again, that's something that they grade too. So I tried to make all the things I thought would be painful for me to track and figure out. That's what, like, they would have to be responsible for that. And then they did, so you're right about, they had some difficulty trying to figure out what order that they should do the topics in. So that was, a choice that they had to make themselves. They had to figure out how many they needed to do each week, that kind of thing. But one of the things that I have in their performance report once a unit is for them to tell me how they're pacing themselves through the unit and whether or not that's working and how they need to change that if it needs to be changed. So there's like unitly conversations about those kinds of choices that relate to their progress through the class. This is like a grand experiment on my part, this whole entire class. I was like, let's try this thing. And some things are working great. Some things, I think most things are working great, except for the fact that it is a ton of work with 80 students.
Suann, could you just remind me what class it was and what level the students are?
It's Principles of Ecology, which is Bio 203. That's most of these students are in their second year of at Geneseo, though I do have some juniors and seniors, 3rd and 4th year students, but they're primarily 2nd year students. And I do get a bunch of transfer students also, because students who transfer into the major, we often put them into this class.